Wisconsin? Is it kind of typical Wisconsin? The store kind of changed them.
He obviously gives them somebody that can score the basketball, but they have people that can score the basketball. Kind of gives them one more. I think, with bringing Blackwell and Season both off the bench, and you got two guys that can really shoot the basketball. But to have a prolific scorer like that, that can make threes, can make pull-ups, can get to the basket, to go along with Klesman and Chucky, and just their overall firepower. They got a good front line in Tyler Wall and Crowell. They got good young big guys that just don't get much of an opportunity. But Nolan Winter's a guy that can stretch you out and shoot. And Carter Gilmore plays a great in the hole. So they just have a lot of really good pieces together, and that's what you want. Collectively, you want to have a good team, a sound team, and that's causes you more problems because I think any one of their starters or the guys I mentioned off the bench can have a career night. Like sometimes if we can shut these two guys down, like we can beat them, and that's not the case with Wisconsin. They have a lot of weapons, but AJ Storrs definitely helped him with his shot-making ability.
Just all the stuff that's always defined: patience, the taking care of the basketball, the defense, the posting up a lot of different people.
Right.
Is that also there?
Sure. Yeah, they'll play through the post. They'll play through their action. The thing I think, if anything, is different is just their ability to drive the basketball and make plays for each other. They would have a guy or two in the past that can do it. Now it seems like they have a handful of guys that can do it. So you got to be able to get them out of rhythm. You got to make it hard for the ball to get inside. But then you got to be able to guard the arc and keep them out of the paint. They do a good job of driving the ball and creating for themselves and creating for their teammates.
With about 5 minutes to go Wednesday, it looks like you're about to fall two back in the loss column in the Big Ten, and then last night's game, the way it turns out, all of a sudden you guys are tied for the conference. That's just life in the Big Ten, I assume, right?
No question. It's game's not over. So when you're playing, you just got to be resilient and keep coming and keep trying to do your job. And we were struggling to stop Northwestern; they were struggling to stop us. And that's, if you're going to have a run or you're going to do something late in the game like that, you got to make some plays, make some shots, but you also got to get stops. And we were fortunate enough to just get enough.
You were vocal last year about the way that Zach was being officiated, maybe earlier in the year or last year. Do you feel like the officials have kind of cut on how? I know he's still getting beat up quite a bit, but to how to officiate him?
Yeah, I think it's better. I think just the things that we want are the egregious stuff, the chucks when he dives, the hook and holds, how they didn't call that a hook and hold other night after seeing it. You like to trust people when they go to the monitors, but man, that blew my mind when I saw it. They fouled him, didn't call it, and the hook and hold. I don't see how that, they said it dissipated. I didn't see any dissipation on my end of things. Obviously I'm biased, but I try to be open-minded to things after the fact. And but no, I think they've done a better job with the egregious stuff, right? Some of the things that happened on the road last year was bad. People locking arms against him at the free throw line, wedging him, getting under him, doing things, not letting him land, things of that nature. They've done a good job of getting those types of things. But if you go back, and the problem they get into is when they let too much go, then they realize they let too much go, and then they let him do things, and that's where the other coaches get mad. They get mad. They're like, "Hey, he's fouling," and they're not calling it. Well, part of that is they're not calling all the ones against them, but then they see the number, and it's a big number. They're like, "Well, what do you mean? Look at how many fouls they've called." But that's not the point of it. You can't talk in theory. You got to go back and watch each play and really evaluate each play.
Talk a lot about how short minutes are harder to play through. You've been offense, defense substituting with Ethan and Fletcher a lot. How have they been able to get in a rhythm that way, and are you happy with what you've seen in the stretches where
it started the other night because of fouls.
Right.
We didn't go to it because that's what we wanted to do. We went to it to allow Lance and Fletch the best scenario so they could play with 2 fouls and hopefully not get their third, and we're in a good position at halftime. So I thought we did a good job of managing that, and being up 8 at half, and both those guys only had 2 going into the second half. Then I thought Ethan did a really good job of guarding their guys and then not letting them get in the paint. So you kind of look at his box score and you see a lot of zeros, and you don't understand basketball if you don't watch the game and say, man, he did a pretty good job on those guys. And if you're not letting them get in the paint and they're not playing post-up basketball, where's the fouls, right? You're not getting into fouls. And then the way they were shooting the basketball, why should you? Just keep shooting threes, right? You got 2 guys that got 13 threes between them, which is unbelievably impressive. But at the end of the day, you got to keep the ball out of the paint. I thought Ethan did a good job there.
I think people kind of view your program as a throw it in type of offense. And obviously you're getting the ball to Zach as much as you can. How has your, identity and your approach to offense changed with Braden and ball screens and things
like a lot of people think you have a theory and you're just going to plug people in. And I think people have systems that are that way. And we're not. We go off the strengths of our players, and there's years that we don't use a lot of ball screen. And obviously we do a lot of it now because of Braden, because he's so good at it. So we're going to try to shape things to the strengths of our players, especially someone like that who makes other people better. But no, he's done a good job. They throw a lot of different looks at him, whether they're in drop or they're switching or they're high hedging or they're trapping. And Braden's done a good job of handling that and making the right decision.
But is that's kind of your first option now offensively, is put Braden in a ball screen with Zach? Or is it
I don't know what the percentages are. It depends on how they cover it. So we go into each game, and obviously no matter what they do, we're going to still play out of the post, we're going to still play out of ball screens. It's the 2 things that we do the most. We just got to kind of get it figured out in terms of, how to attack depending on what they're doing. And people will switch up at times during the game. So, they started to change some things in that first half. Northwestern switched up a little bit of what they were doing, but I thought Braden did a fabulous job. So it's not me thinking, hey, this is what we're going to do. It's just kind of looking at your opponent and seeing how they're going to defend things and just going from there.
After the Wisconsin game, you guys have a little bit of a break before IU. Do you feel like a few days off like that from a game after this tough stretch is kind of needed at this point in the season?
Sure. It's needed, period. Yeah, in February, I think all coaches would say that, just to kind of get away from it for a couple days and just kind of get recharged and just get ready for your next opponent. But you just got to keep your focus more than anything. Mine's pretty strong. Just have that mental toughness and stay with it and keep fighting.
You said the other day you almost couldn't afford to take Zach out of the game, and that's why he played 41 and a half minutes. Braden's put up a lot of minutes.
Yeah.
Are you looking for opportunities to hopefully rest those guys a little bit before March?
In practice. Yeah, I think that's the one thing people always look at, resting. And resting is just in totality. It's just, your rest is everything. Are you eating right? Are you sleeping right? You doing those things? Sometimes people are tired or whatever, then they don't take care of themselves, and that's the issue. So I think it's important if you got to cut back some in practice, because you got to win the games. That's how you get evaluated.
Just when you go back and look at the few possessions you played that quote unquote zone, how did it go? And would you call that zone?
I don't call it a zone. No.
What do you call it?
I'm not going to tell you what I call it. So people know what I'm saying. What the hell's going on?
Well, it sounded like you were going to. It was an initial trap, and then you were going to drop it in man.
No, it wasn't it. We started in the man. If they went into an ISO, we just loaded up, and then once he passed it, we went back to a man. So, and everybody does it. It's not like I invented it.
So basically, you were just cheating extra help toward Bowie.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So, but we were getting him in the right positions. One of the guys in one of the plays didn't get high enough, like we talked about, on the wing, and that caused Ty Berry's three-pointer. They got the one floater, which he got the ball back in his hands, and we didn't want to do that. And then we got a turnover on another one. They kind of did on their own. The ball went to the wing, and they just loaded up on him and got a turnover. Then I think they might have hit the other one.
There was a 3 Berry guy.
Berry, that's
right in front of their match.
There you go.
2 months ago, lose to Northwestern overtime, win this week overtime. Are there signs of growth in this game that you saw, or was it just pretty similar?
Signs of offensive growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, hey man, you start a game and you allow those guys to get their head up. Don't Like, sure, they make some tough ones, but we made mistakes. We got too many guys that run into screens, that don't get into the basketball and ball screen, and a lot of times those little things against somebody that maybe isn't as prolific as Ty Berry and Boo Booey, it doesn't burn you and you think you're okay. But against those guys, against snipers, all they need is a little bit of daylight, especially after they get their head up. And we helped them. We encountered some screens. We ate a couple screens. Like, it just was, we have to do a better job defensively. And as the game progressed, I thought we did some good things. We made it tough on them. But when you have that kind of start and those guys are feeling that good about themselves, that's where we got to make improvements. We got to defend better on the perimeter, in my opinion, and then we got to do a better job of communicating and staying on the same page. However we decide to defend things, it's so important that you stay on the same page, because right as you break that, now you're fragmented. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's, as long as you stay on the same page and people understand what they're doing against certain action, it's really going to help you, because now you stay out of rotations and you have a better defensive rebounding position.